Alright, how's it going, guys? We are here, and after that impromptu showing you all the chlorine stuff in the last one, we're actually going to get this set up today for making bauxite, or processing bauxite. So we are going to start with a gas burning box. We're using Invar. And then we're going to use a lead boiler. Lead and Invar are the exact same amount of heat to steam. The only difference is that a lead burning box is way less efficient than what an Invar is. If we look up burning box, you'll see that the lead one is 50% efficient, where the Invar is 100% efficient. So you'll use way less fuel with Invar than you will lead. But since the boiler does not matter, we can use lead, and it's exactly the same as using Invar. And then we're going to put our autoclave on top of that. For anybody that wants to see the recipe here, the autoclave is a reinforced stainless steel casing. That means you need quadruple stainless steel plates. This thing uses a lot of steam, so it holds lots of pressure, needs a really good casing for. 3 small stainless steel pipes, 2 item casings, 2 small gears, and your wrench. So we have items go in on this side. The steam will go in on the bottom. That's why we're putting it on top of the boiler. And all the recipes for the autoclave require steam and will give distilled water back out. So our items will come out there, and the autoclave can also take fluids in from the left. So this right here is also a fluid input as well. That's not what I meant to do. I wanted my scaffold. Alright, so nothing in on the top here whatsoever. And then this is our fluid output here on the back. So our distilled water will come out the back, and the steam will go in through the bottom. And then our items will go from left to right. Alright, so I'm going to need to hook this up to our distilled water and to our gas, which our gas is over here. So I'll do that in a minute. We're going to use a recycling system for this, like what we did upstairs on the sluice. If we look at bauxite here in the autoclave, and we're going to be doing this recipe here with the sodium hydroxide, which I showed you we were making in the last video. It's going to take 96 steam in, and it's going to put out 2,100 liters of distilled water, along with 4 sodium aluminate. Well, that 4 sodium aluminate is going to need 6,000 liters of water. It doesn't have to be distilled to process down to the aluminum hydroxide and sodium hydroxide, and we're not going to get anything back from it because the hydrogen and the oxygen have bound with the aluminum and the sodium, so it is using it up. So we're going to get 4 of these out with 2100, but we need, what was it I said, 6,000. Now, there's 2 different ways we can do this. Because this uses regular water, we could run a water pipe over and run strictly water to the bath, and then run the excess distilled water that the autoclave makes back to our distilled water system, and this would help keep up with our distilled water. But what I'm going to try to do this time is use the recycling system that we have up here, because we have this dryer going pretty much non-stop making us distilled water, and as you can see, we have a pretty decent amount of it, and we can always make more. And there's going to be some more things we're going to do down the line that's going to make even more distilled water, so it's not a real big deal to use it. So we're going to use this system right here. So we need a small pipe going into a normal pipe with a tank on top, and this is going to be what gets recycled going into that tank. So this pipe will always keep about a third of this pipe full, but this will keep the pipe as full as it can keep it. So this pipe will never be able to fill more than a third of that pipe, always leaving room for what comes from the drain. So that's what we're going to end up setting up down here. I'm going to go ahead and do it, and I will be right back with you. I got to dye up some pipes now that I've got it figured out where we're putting it. Run the gas pipe, run the distilled pipe and all that, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, I think I got this all pretty much piped up now. So we have our distilled water in here. We have our natural gas, once I connect it here, in our burning box. And we have our tank over here for our recycling system. So basically, whatever distilled water comes out of here will go into this pipe and into this drum, which with a click, we can now have it automatically output into this pipe, which we are going to connect to this pipe. And you will see that it is only holding 3,000 liters of distilled water, even though the capacity of this is 600. So there is still 2/3 of the pipe open for whatever goes into here. So now we need to get the bath set up for the second part of this, because the bauxite will go in. It'll turn to sodium aluminate with tiny refined ilmenite and rutile, 50% chance of those, and water. And then that will need to go into a bath, as we discussed before. So we need our bath, which I know I made, and is for some reason missing. And I will bet you I know why. In between the last 2 videos, I had to go check on something on the server, and when I loaded back in, it said it was using a backup of my world, that something had gone wrong, and I am almost guessing that that's something that went wrong means that I lost that bath I made. Because I've been sitting here trying to figure out this whole time what happened to my wrench. And, well, I remade the wrench. So, I guess I need to remake the bath. I have no idea what happened, but I guess we will roll with it and fix it real quick. So we need to make 2 of our item casings here from stainless steel. Come on, get out of there. And we need to make 2 of our long rods. Give me that. And just give me that for a second. We need to make a regular casing for this. There we go. And then we need the 2 item casings on the sides, the wrench in the center, and that gives us our bath again. Alright, so now which actually, give me 1 second. I want to see if this saves correctly this time. I'll be right back. Okay, so I successfully still have my bath, and everything I set up here is still here. It's still giving me that warning that I'm running off of a bat file, so I will have to check that out afterwards. Hopefully nothing major is going wrong, but we will find out. Alright, so what we need to do here is we need to connect from the output right here. We need to connect to the input right here, which normally I would run right through there, but well, we have that in the way now. So we're going to go this way, and then we need to do the output from here back to the input here. So we're just going to be looping around. And the reason for that is the sodium hydroxide that is going to be turned into sodium aluminate here, turned back into sodium hydroxide here, and then looped back into here to run again. And we are going to have 2 outputs other than that. We're going to have our rutile and ilmenite here. So we need an extra pipe because we want to make sure that that the sodium aluminate does not go in there. So we're going to run that to that chest, and then we will output that back up to the shredder. And then from here, we're going to have the aluminum hydroxide. And we want to make sure that the sodium doesn't go in there. So we're going to do the exact same thing on this side. So with no filters, we can do this complete job and never have to worry about anything going where it shouldn't go. So, other than hooking up the distilled water here, which actually needs to go in the top, we have this completely set up and ready to go. So, we have to get our pipe, which we're going to be running the large one up to here. So that's going to leave us one, which we don't want that connected there. There's going to be one below it. That's 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. So I'm going to go and get these dyed and ready to go. And then we'll be ready to start this thing out for the first time. So let's go ahead and dye them. I still love this update where that pops into another hand. It is beautiful. And I need to grab this tag. If I remember correctly. Oh no, we don't need to tag this one. We do need to grab our sodium hydroxide, which we're just going to grab a stack of it, which will give us 16, and we need 6. And throw the other 10 in there. Alright, so that, there, into there. Alright, and let's go ahead and kick the tires and light the fires here. Get this thing started, which has its distilled water. Now, this is a really slow process filling this thing up because it needs a pretty decent amount of steam. We need 48,000 liters of steam, which we're actually doing this recipe, so we need 96,000 liters of steam. So this is going to take a little while to initially get set up. And the reason why we use this boiler setup is because of how slow this process is. For running this, it takes 75 seconds, which we're actually using this one, so it takes 150 seconds to run this process. And it's not perfect, but it's really close to perfect to having just the right amount to run without turning off with this boiler setup. You could use a faster one, but then it would turn off more often. But seeing how it will need to shut off occasionally, we're going to use a gibble meter. And what we're going to use that for is an emergency shut off. So we're going to take this block out and this block out. And we're going to put our sticky piston there. We'll put that back on top. And we need to keep an eye on that number right there to where it stops going up. While it's still heating, we're going to hook up our... oh, crap. Passed it. Okay, you see that? It stopped at 8. So that is the number we need for this boiler. Each boiler is different and can hold more pressure. But for this one, it's 80. So now we need to hook this in here. Give me that back. Which we don't need connected there. We need it connected there. And then we're going to run this over. And in a second, we will connect that to the piston. So now what we need to do is we need to switch this over to greater than. And the number we're wanting is 80. So we need to set this to 80, and I'm actually going to set it to 81. Anything greater than 80 is fine because we don't ever want it above 80. And you'll see we're getting pretty close on our amount here. So let's go grab a stack of bauxite real quick so we can get this thing running on the first one, which I will need to send this down. We're actually going to put the drawer for the bauxite right on the machine, and that's where all of the bauxite will be stored because this is where we want it. This is the only place we're ever going to be using it. So now we're going to throw in the bauxite, we're going to throw in the sodium hydroxide, and when that gets done, we'll be good to go. So now, since we got that all set, we can do that. And what that will do is whenever this boiler hits 81, it'll send out a redstone signal and turn this off. So then we do not have to worry about our autoclave and our boiler blowing up. The autoclave doesn't blow up, the boiler blows up, and it would also in turn blow up our autoclave. And you can see just how terribly slow this recipe is. But the good thing about that is because it's so slow, it's giving the autoclave time to get filled back up with steam for our next one. So I will save you guys a couple very boring seconds here. Pause for just a minute until we're about to go. Alright, as painful as it was, I sat here and watched this thing get done. And you'll see we're at 93, 94, 5, there we go, 96. And it has switched. So then we come over here, and it's already running. We can see we have our rutile down there. So our sodium aluminate has made it into the bath successfully while filtering out the excess that is not needed. And this recipe is painfully slow as well, but it's not as bad as this one. If we look at the sodium aluminate in the bath, it is only 102 seconds versus the 150 that it takes for this. So by the time this gets done, or by the time this needs the sodium hydroxide, this will have been done and had time to put out the sodium hydroxide back to the autoclave. That's why we're only using 6 sodium hydroxide in here, 1 set for each machine, basically. So it'll just do a nice endless loop around. There you go, it's about to pop. Any second. I hate it when it looks like it's done and it's just holding on for every last second it can. There we go. So there's our hydroxide and there's our first aluminum hydroxide out of our bauxite, and we have our sodium hydroxide back in here waiting for this to get done again. So that is how we get our alumina out of our bauxite. Now all we need to do, which we will be using a smelter for this in the future, but we do not have a smelter available at this level currently, due to the fact that it takes tungsten, and tungsten has now been moved to behind aluminum processing, which we will get to in a bit. So eventually we will be able to automate this part, but for right now we need to take our aluminum hydroxide, dump it into a crucible, and smelt it into alumina, which you'll see this smelts very fast. It is low heat and the hydrogen burns off of it rather quickly, which should be leaving behind alumina. Hold on. Aluminum. Something's not right here. Autoclave gives us this, which gives us our aluminum hydroxide, which you put in a crucible, makes alumina at only 573. So why does that not look like it wants to pour? I've never had a problem with pouring alumina before. Well, let's... Ouch. Yeah, it's definitely alumina. I don't know why it's black on top. It definitely should not be. And it's not wanting to pour. I've never done alumina in a crucible. I've always used a smelter. And there's definitely an alumina ingot, because we pour it out of the smelter. There's the aluminum, there's the alumina. In a crucible, alumina turns to alumina. And there's an alumina ingot. So, I'm really confused. We're gonna have to ask Greg about this one, since, like I said, I've never done this without a smelter before. But we can pull that out this way and then shred it, and then that will give us the alumina we need to use, which we already have some from washing the bauxite, which I need to get some more downstairs. We only need like one more batch, I think, to do our first aluminum. Okay, get that out of there. I do want to look at this real quick. Autoclave. By the way, there is a large version of this, but all of them take these crystal processors. Eventually, you'll be able to do this way faster. So, items in, yeah, top. That's what I was thinking. So, what we're going to do is we're going to put a mass storage right on top of here and set it to auto out. And then that will be how we get our bauxite in there. But, yeah. Oh, I actually have one on me. Where'd you go? Come here. Alright. Well, what we're going to do for right now, so it can process until I get the mass storage made, is I'm just going to throw that up there and throw any excess in there, and you'll see it will not do both, and it'll leave room for your sodium hydroxide. So I'll just leave that sit there, and since it's so slow, I don't have to worry about a chest, because I can't put a chest on top, because then I'd have to put a hole in the floor. And I'm going to go make a mass storage to put there, so that's not a problem. I'll have that done in the next one. So, our next step is making all of the fluids that we need for making the alumina into aluminum. So, if we take our alumina here in an electrolyzer, we need carbon, which can be graphite. It can also be coke. It can be coal. It can be charcoal. Does not matter. Whatever one of those you want to use, it can use. We need 10 of them, 10 of the alumina with 3 charcoal or 3 coal or 3 coke or 3 graphite, and it'll make us 4 aluminum, but we need to make the molten aluminum fluoride and the molten cryolite. So we will get on doing that in the next one. I will talk to Greg in between now and then, figure out what's up with the alumina in the crucible, and get back with you. So have a good one.